Hey guys, Adrian Morrison here, and in this video I want to talk to you about something called advanced lookalike audiences. Now, advanced doesn't mean it's more complicated, it just actually means it's better, really. And a lot of people don't know about advanced lookalike audiences, and there are some very key massive benefits to using advanced lookalike audiences. So let me just go over them real quick. Then I'm going to walk you into my Facebook account. I'm going to walk you inside my Facebook account and take you through building an advanced lookalike audience. So number one is advanced lookalike audiences eliminate something that's called audience overlap. Now, audience overlap is when you have multiple targeted audiences that all really have the same people in them, which is pointless. I think we all could agree if you had 3 different sets of targeted audiences, but they all had the same people in them, why not just have them all in one, right? Just why target the same people 3 different times than one? All right, that'll make more sense when I actually show you inside Facebook. So when you eliminate audience overlap, you increase your conversion rate, okay? You increase your conversion rate and you save a bunch of money because you're not double targeting the same people with the same ad multiple times. And that's a huge benefit. This allows you to properly split test your audiences with your lookalike audiences. LLA is just an abbreviation for lookalike audience, just so you know. And it's one little button and it reveals lookalike audiences, advanced lookalike audiences. So one little button will reveal the tool that you can use, and it's free and it's in Facebook, to create advanced lookalike audiences. So let's go inside Facebook now and let me show you, because it's so much easier to show you than sit here and try to explain. So let's do that now. Okay, so here we are in my Facebook account, and as you can see, I have some good old-fashioned regular lookalike audiences created for the Grandma bracelet. So I've got a 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, and a 6% that's currently being generated. And notice the audience, how it increases in size. So our 1% lookalike audience has 2 million people in it. Then our 2% has 3.9, our 3% has 5.8. So the larger the percentage of lookalike audience you have, the bigger the number is going to be, okay? Now here's the problem. Everybody that's in your 5% lookalike audience right here is also in your 1% lookalike audience, okay? So your 5% lookalike audience is going to have the top 5% of lookalikes dumped all into this audience. Well, I mean, within the top 5% is the 1%, the 2%, the 3%, and the 4%. So if you have an ad targeting 1% lookalike audiences, and you also have an ad targeting 5% lookalike audiences, you are hitting some of these 1%ers in this ad. That's called audience overlap. And Facebook has created a tool that will show you your audience overlap, and also a tool that will allow you to eliminate it if you choose, okay? Now let me show you. Let's take a look at our 1% lookalike audience and our 2%, all right? And let's look at the audience overlap. So we're gonna come over here to actions, and we're gonna look at this tool that says show audience overlap. And you see up here we have our 1% lookalike audience, and there's no overlap in it because, I mean, it's the top 1%. But when you look at your 2% audience here that has 3.9 million people in it, look, see this overlap in the dark blue right here? We're looking at a 1.7 million overlap, okay? So a 1.7 million overlap in here. That's pretty dang big. All right, that's huge. So that being said, there's a massive overlap here. You're hitting some of the exact same people in this audience that you're hitting in that audience. So how can you eliminate that? Well, I'm going to show you. Another thing you can do is look at your audience overlap between your 1% and let's say your 5%. So let's do that. All right, so you're going to see there's much less of an overlap here. You've got a 1.9 million overlap out of 9.8 million people. That's because these are all the 1%ers that are right here that are also in this 5% audience. So technically, every time you create a bigger lookalike audience, you're going to have lumped in there all of your previous lookalike audiences. Now, let me show you how to eliminate that, because look, you don't want to be hitting the idea of having different audiences is to hit different people, right? You don't want all of the same people in every audience you create. That makes no dang sense. It makes zero sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to create what's called a lookalike audience, an advanced lookalike audience. We're going to do it from our grandma visitors, okay? And we're just going to do that by coming up here like usual, hitting create lookalike. And instead of using this slider to create our audiences, which by the way, remember your 1%, 2%, these are just regular audiences. We are going to choose our country. And, let me just point this out real quick. So look how your 1% lookalike audience has 1.9 million people in it. Watch how many are in your 2%. 3.9 million. So 1.9 million of these people right here are your 1%. And you see how it goes up and up and up by about 2 million each time. That's because each percent of people is 2 million new 2 million new targeted audiences. Okay, so up here at the top, if you hit show advanced options, it's crazy how many people overlook this little link. If you choose this, watch, bam. Now all of a sudden there's more than one dot on your slider. Now it works the same, but now you can create up to six different audiences. So what you can do now is do I don't know why they don't just let you do the full 10. It doesn't make sense, but whatever. You see how each audience now is 2 million? There's literally no overlap. Each audience this is just the 1%. This is just the 2%. This is just the 3%. And so on and so on and so on. Whereas when you're not using advanced lookalike audiences, when you do a 2%, now you're hitting the 1% and the 2% all in the same audience. Now you're hitting the 1%, the 2%, and the 3% all in the same audience, which just, it's kind of like counterproductive. So now what we're able to do is split the audiences up so there's no overlap. So I know if my 1% are converting. I know if my 2% are converting and my 3%. And you can do it up to 6 audiences. So all the way up to about 6%. The way I set mine up usually is I'll do it about like this right here. And this allows me to really hit the top tier audiences separately. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4%. And then we'll go from a 4 to 7% and a 7 to 10. You don't have to do it this way, but you notice that these last two audiences are much bigger. They're 5.9 and 5.9. These are going to convert once you get up to about a 5% lookalike audience. You're really not hitting, super targeted people, and you can afford to have some overlap in the 5 through 10% lookalike audiences, because they're not really mega passionate, mega targeted to begin with, because it's just such a massive audience. So what I'll do is I'll create these lookalike audiences, and they'll all be separate. So I'm just going to do 1 through 6 to show you a good example, because if you look over here to the left, you can see I created some regular lookalike audiences the old-fashioned way, 1 through 6%. All right, I want to show you exactly how it's done here, but using the advanced tool. So let's hit confirm. Oh, well, I already have a 1% lookalike audience, so you can see that here on the left, the 1%. That is just the top 1%. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this up because I had already created a 1%. So now this will create us basically a 2% through a 7%. So let's go ahead and hit continue. And now you see it auto-generate these audiences, and it says our 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, 6%, and 7% all the way right here. Now, I'm going to give it a minute for these to generate, and you'll see all of a sudden the audiences, when I refresh, will pop in here, but they won't be going from 2 to 3 to 5 to 7 to 9. They'll all be about the exact same size, which gives you completely unique customers in each of the audiences. It eliminates overlap, and it helps you identify exactly where your buyers are, which is the most important. So let me give it, it usually takes 1 or 2 minutes, and then I'll refresh, and we will analyze the overlap in these audiences. All right, so I've refreshed. It's been about 1 minute, and the audiences are created. Now let's take a look at the difference. Notice that my 2% lookalike audience down here has 3 million people, and 5, then 7, then 9, and then 12. So you're getting everybody that's in this 6% regular lookalike audience is also in this one, in this one, in this one, in this one. It's overlap. Whereas up here with our advanced lookalike audiences, we've got 1.9, 2 million, 1.9, 2 million, 1.9, and 2 million. So they're all about the exact same size. Now let's take a look at the overlap between this 2% and 3%. Now you can see there is literally zero overlap. So each one of these lookalike audiences has completely different people in them. So I hope you can understand why this is important, because down here you're being counterproductive with these. In essence, you are being counterproductive, because if you are running an ad to each one of these audiences uniquely, then basically you're targeting the same people with the same product multiple times, which is a waste of time, a waste of money, and it's going to kill your ROI. Whereas with advanced lookalike audiences, look, let's just do them all. You can come in and eliminate audience overlap. It'll only let you do 5 at a time. So let's look at the overlap. Look, zero overlap in all of these audiences. You're hitting completely different people. Facebook says they're all similar and they're all lookalikes, but they're all unique. So you're not, being counterproductive. If I come down and I do a overlap on the regular lookalike audiences from the 1%, 3, 4, and 5, watch what happens. You've got a lot of overlap, a ton of overlap right here. Right? So you're wasting money using these. So I always prefer now to use the advanced lookalikes, because they give me uniquely generated audiences. There's zero overlap. And I know if I'm targeting this audience and this audience, I'm hitting different people. Whereas if I'm hitting this audience and this audience, I'm probably targeting majority the same people in both ad, which just is, not smart. So if you want to create an ad using your new advanced lookalike audiences, all you do is click the audience you want to use and come up here and create an ad, and boom. Now you're creating an ad bullseye targeted to a unique audience. Then you'd come back and say, oh, I want to create the same ad for another grandma product, but I want to do it to the 3%. And then so on and so on and so on. All right, so I hope this makes sense. It really should. I mean, bottom line is, if you use advanced lookalike audiences, you're able to split test each percentage with zero audience overlap. Whereas with regular lookalike audiences, every time you build a bigger audience, you're also going to be targeting everybody in the percentages underneath it. Like the 4% lookalike audience has all the same people from the 1%, 2%, and 3% lumped in it. So it's just kind of like counterproductive to be targeting all 4 of these audiences because you're hitting majority the same people. Whereas up here, you're hitting all completely unique people. It's going to increase your conversion rates. It's going to increase the longevity of your ad, and it's going to eliminate wasted money. All right, guys, so that is advanced lookalike audiences. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned a lot, and I'll see you on the next one.